What is happening? Welcome to the Plus Pitch Podcast, more pitching podcast from PitcherList.com. My name is Nick Pollack. Today is Monday, May 12th, and yes, we are going to talk about baseball. It's all right. We'll get through Monday today. We got a list day. It'll be all right. But is it going to be all right for Bryce Miller? I'm going to have to lower him on the list as he went 5 innings, 7 runs, 8 hits, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts in the T of Seattle. Now, I did actually put this out on Twitter and on Blue Sky that the strikeout amplification in Seattle is worse this year. There is a difference between roof closed and roof open. 130 for roof closed in the positive direction last year versus 119 with roof closed. Roof closed has actually been, or roof open has been more beneficial, I believe it is, or maybe it's roof closed. Well, I'm trying to get at, it has been lowered, okay? I put out the tweet, I should know the answer to this, but the long story short is that Bryce Miller hasn't taken advantage of these home games that we thought we would see from him while the road problems have still been there. And there could be a lot of answers for it. One, it could just be, hey, look, Bryce Miller's four-seamer isn't as good as it was last year. He's not missing as many bats. He's not locating it as well. There's the back issue that he had at the beginning of last one that I pretty much just threw that start away because he said that, look, my back was flaring up and I have no idea like how I got through that start, but he did it with like what, 1 run, 0 runs? Like it was beneficial still. And right now it's frustrating because you have this start that actually could have been decent. It was 200 runs through 4 and then a 3-run shot with 2 outs in the 5th. And then he came out for the 6th and allowed 2 base runners and was pulled and both those scored. So it's like 5 earned runs within 1 out, and in 4 base runners, which is just so frustrating to end his start. But Bryce Miller is not pitching at the top of his level. He's not pitching in the way that we thought he would carry over into this year. The four-seamer is not that out creator that we saw. And in some ways, it's familiar to, say, like Bowden Francis, where it was a four-seamer leading the way and not a massive amount of faith in the secondaries, but saying, look, it's a good enough four-seamer that hopefully the secondaries are going to be good enough. Now, I didn't like Bowden Francis. I like Bryce Miller because it's a better fastball and a better hope that there's, he has 5 different secondary pitches and one of these should really click. We really haven't seen that. I hope over time it does. And I do believe that the Bryce Miller we've seen thus far, he's not going to be a 4.5 to 5 ERA the rest of the year. I think anyone who does projections, anyone in the fantasy industry will not tell you that he's destined for a 4.75 ERA from May 15th through the end of September, right? And when you think about it that way, you just got to think, all right, I roll with it then, right? I mean, that's the thought process that you should have constantly is, do I think the rest of the way that this is going to benefit my team or hurt my team? That said, if Bryce Miller's at the tail end of your roster and you're thinking that you need to go and get someone else, I understand the drop. I am not going to be dropping Bryce Miller. I don't believe that this is the guy that we're going to get. It might be an IL stint, might be something else. But if you just think of it that way of, yeah, Bryce Miller isn't just cooked all of a sudden. Yeah, that's how you should be doing these things. Rena Blanco against the Reds. 8 innings, 0 runs, 2 hits, 1 walk, and 11 strikeouts. My gosh, he had a King Cole's 36% CSW. What's so funny about this one for me is that the slider and the changeup were really good. And honestly, that's peak Blanco. You have the elite slider going well, and then you have the changeup that actually works really well against left-handers. Now, the other side of Blanco that we normally see when he does well is very counterintuitive. It's not having a lot of strikes on his fastball. And actually, he didn't have strikes on the curveball either. Both of them combined for 48 pitches of the 101 he threw. So about half of his pitches came with sub 50% strikes, which is really bad, right? And you think, why is that a good thing for Blanco? Well, it's because the four-seamer is the pitch that Blanco allows damage on. So he actually does what Griffin Canning is doing, which is lowering the zone rate on that fastball. And he is instead trying to throw it out of the zone, make it a surprise, make it feel as if it's the counter to the slider and the changeup that allows him to get back to the slider. And so saying, hey, look, I could be throwing a fastball now. And having it as a, say, 40% strike rate, 48%, maybe not exactly what we want, maybe like 55%. But the whole point of the matter here is that Blanco is actually doing that by design in some fashion. He's making sure his mistakes are out of the zone instead of in the zone. And that's how you can go 8 innings shutout with just 2 hits. because he's not allowing them on those pitches. Oh, and also face the Reds away from Great American Ballpark. That's always going to be a benefit. And remember, we saw Max Meyer go 14 strikeouts against the same Reds team in Miami. So it's still a gamble against the Rangers next time out. Don't forget that. Zach Wheeler, ace is going to ace against the Guardians. It's so cool to see that the splitter and cutter are now working against lefties. The biggest strength that Wheeler's ever had is his four-seamer against right-handers specifically, and that helps. Is good against lefties, but he didn't have anything else. And that was always like the main thing about Wheeler. But yeah, you're really good, but like lefties are a little strange. And now all of a sudden he's figured that out. You are going to be SP number 2 today. Yes. Sorry, Skeens. Now you have Nathan Eovaldi against the Tigers. 7 innings, 0 runs, 2 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. 42% CSW curve and a 68% strike splitter. So cool. All 4 pitches are pretty much hovering 25% usage. Ugh. Lucas Giolito against the Royals. Okay, so the timeline of Giolito was no one wanted him apparently off of as an IL stash. I was like, okay, I wanted to go for this. And well, the first start looked really good. He got blown up and like the last inning, he got a lot of home run. I was like, this stinks. Or maybe it was 2 home runs or so. I can't remember exactly. It was a bad changeup and then a bad slider. That's right. And then but he was at 93. I'm like, this is really good. You got 18 inches of vert and you've got 7 feet of extension. This is awesome. Changeup looks good. You got to figure out the third pitch. And I regretted the second one because velocity went down. And there was maybe some weather-inspired or influenced drop in velocity. He was also slipping on the mound a little bit. But we saw like 91 and change. And I was really disheartened because I was thinking, man, did I just overlook the fact that maybe Giolito had adrenaline? But then again, he had higher velocity entering 2024 before he got hurt. And he ramped up in that start in the first one, but I said, this really stinks. I don't drop it, but like, I need to see A, the velocity to come back, and B, I need to see the number 3 pitch to show up, the slider, because the slider's been really bad. And so what happened? Giolito, after having like no slider in that second game, and that 91, 92, sat 94, not 93 from the first game, sat 94 on his fastball, and had a number 3 pitch. He actually mentioned he went out of his bullpen figuring that out. Thank you. Like, it's so refreshing to see a pitcher say, hey, I need a third pitch and I need to make sure I get this good enough and work at it because honestly, I can't survive throughout a full year if I don't do that work. So I have to invest that time. And what did he do? Not 5 for 19 whiffs on it. Now, it was a 53% strike rate. Sure, that's still better. That's still good. I'll take that all day for Giolito because you made it a whiff pitch. You made it something that actually can attack batters. 32% CSW and 20% usage. Like, that's a huge difference maker for Giolito. And yeah, the changeup 0 for 17 whiffs in this. Tons of strikes. He threw it over the plate comfortably. 88% strike rate. But that's okay having this when you have the slider at 5 whiffs, right? And so this is why it was a good start for Giolito. I'm very encouraged. Seeing the velocity stick really from that first start and really jump back up, it means like, okay, that's the anomaly, the second one. And you have the slider actually being a proper third pitch. It doesn't need to be the greatest third pitch. The 4-seamer changeup is already a really good foundation. Think of it like Bailey Ober, where you have these 2 pitches. You just need a slider that doesn't get destroyed against right-handers, as it has been at times for Ober. But yeah, Giolito is that kind of. Isn't that kind of interesting? Yeah, maybe he's a better Bailey Ober in time. Unfortunately, he gets Fenway's at Swamp Park. That's stupid. Okay. Carmen Mlodzinski had a lovely birthday party. 5.2 innings of 0 runs against Atlanta. Yay. What's really funny is that he has this good height-adjusted VAA. He's kind of flat on his release. However, it's not really a 4-seamer. It's a cut fastball, really a cutter. 10 inches of vert, which means that, yeah, that is more vert than Corbin Burns' cutter. That's always like the reference point of like a cutter to me. And that's kind of interesting. It means that he is flatter if he were like somehow a 16, 17-inch vert guy. Carmen Mlodzinski with that flat attack angle is like, oh my gosh, you have an amazing 4-seamer to go upstairs with. But you don't really want it to be flat with that vert. What you can do is you can make this you can go upstairs with it because it's still flat on release. So like the timing is bad, but you get a lot of movement down. So you can come back into the zone as a Cannibal McSanchez kind of approach of called strikes. And then maybe you actually get some whiffs on that because of it. Pretty interesting, huh? Okay. It's very strange. I don't like the slider or sweeper, unfortunately, and you have the Phillies next, but I can maybe see a world where that works for Majinski. Yeah, it's a birthday party. I just want Bubba Chandler here. You have Tony Gonsolin against the Diamondbacks. Success. I didn't expect great things because it's the Diamondbacks, and I don't really think that Gonsolin does really good things. We have really bad sliders and splitters. 5 innings and 0 earned runs. Really, the Diamondbacks were so willing to let 16 called strikes happen, and it's like, sure, all right, why not? I don't want to swing this four seamer. I don't want to swing this curve. And then now he nibbled and counts, and eventually he got there. Like, I don't feel as if that's a consistent thing for Gonsolin. He gets the Angels next, so fine, but I'm not really here for it. Herman Marquez against the Padres, 7 innings, 1 run. Maybe he deserved the gold star instead of Carmen Majinski. Sure, I'm just proud of him, and I feel bad for the Rockies as a whole because Bud Black did not deserve to get fired. Bud Black is a phenomenal manager, and I guarantee you there are a lot of teams that will want to get Bud Black now. And I actually met him in college. My team went to spring training facility in Peoria for like February spring training in like 2010, and we got a tour of the Padres clubhouse. Ended with Bud Black giving us a 5-minute speech, and this was like the speech that makes me understand. Oh, right, this is why you're a major league baseball coach, because I would have run through a wall for that guy. He inspired me massively in that moment. I thought of my college coach and be like, dude, this is how it's done. Do this, you know? And that's a thing that I think people forget about with managers. They'll have a lot of people that know that will guide, you can guide the playbook of like what you're supposed to do at this situation and start this guy, do that. That's taught, but in a textbook, you can have that guided out for you. Player management is not. Player management is so difficult, and to inspire and to get the most out of your guys is really, I think, the thing that matters most for baseball managers these days. And of course, don't be stupid. You know, Tony La Russa, make sure you get a pinch runner. Things like that, right? Okay. Griffin Canning. I gotta talk some Griffin Canning here. And we're going to talk about him and what is this Luis Ortiz start against the Phillies. We'll talk about both of those guys and more after this break. Griffin Canning, my gosh, you deserve more from me. Because you had a 2-step against the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Cubs, and I put you in the 90s on the list because, yeah, I get that you're doing well. But do you guys really want to start him twice against those really good elite offenses? And he did it. 6 innings, 1 earned run, 2 hits, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts here against the Cubs after success against the Diamondbacks. And the biggest change I'm seeing finally, I've been asking, this is the thing too, is that whenever anyone says to me like, oh, Nick, you got to give Griffin Canning more respect. Come on, man. I say, awesome. Tell me why. And you can't just say because he had good starts. It has to be something that he's doing different this year that I'm not realizing, right? I think that's the conversation I want to have with everybody. And I'll go, oh man, I can't believe I missed that. Thank you so much. I need to do that. I believe in that too. And here I finally saw that I don't think this was the case before. Keep in mind, I'm going to double check, but he's got a lot more movement on the slider, about 3 to 4 inches of drop with also extra inches of horizontal bend without losing velocity. And he has about 4 inches more drop on the changeup, which is really good. On top of that, what I saw a lot last year was location of these pitches, where it was dancing the disco a lot. The slider for Griffin Canning was just kind of all over the place a bit, and he would turn to fastballs too much, and those would get too much at the plate, and would just kind of be like, this isn't good because you don't want your fastball to be hit. And the slider, sure, it's good, but he has like a 40% ICR because you leave it over the plate. What's happening now is that Griffin Canning is working the edges really well. The slider is not in the middle of the zone, it's actually getting down properly. The changeup is doing great things down and out of the zone. And you have the four-seamer that, like Rena Blanco, is not being this massive zone pitch. And that's good. You don't want contact on your fastball. And you want to make sure that the slider is working the edges, essentially. Right? So that's what he's doing. And do I think that's sustainable for a full year? Probably not. But this is a Vargas rule here. And he gets the Yankees this week. Here's the ultimate test. Do you really want to start Griffin Canning against the Yankees? Well, what I'm going to say is no. I'm going to have him as a questionable start. But you're not dropping Griffin Canning, are you? And I need to recognize that on the list, and I totally understand it. So I'm going to be moving him up to like the 60s or something like that this week. Just saying, yeah, I get it. You want Griffin Canning over Max Meyer. Totally understand. I get that too. And I've neglected this too long. So that's the thing about me, is that I will make changes like this when I see something in the mix that I feel like I've overlooked, and I recognize it. And I see that also, I understand the changes you're going to make. Are you really going to do this thing or not? And if you're not, then I'm seeing this wrong, because I need to, if I'm not going to do that in my leagues, then yeah, I shouldn't be saying that anyone should. Luis Ortiz against the Phillies. He had 9 strikeouts in 6 innings, 1 earned run, 4 hits, 2 walks. Insanely good. He's kind of a werewolf, though. It's like once a month you'll have this remarkable start where he throws enough strikes with everything. The slider earned strikes here and earned whiffs. You had the four-seamer actually go upstairs. The sinker was good over the plate, and the changeup wasn't there at all. But the point of the matter is, you have 3 pitches that are getting strikes, and I don't normally see that from Luis Ortiz. So he gets whiffs. He has these whiffable pitches. The four-seamer upstairs gets them. The changeup, when it's working down and relatively in the zone, gets whiffs. The sinker we actually saw get whiffs too. And of course, you have the slider as well. It's just, are you gonna not walk everybody? Are you gonna put them in the place that you want to? Sometimes you do. Sometimes we understand that you are a slinger from the right side, and that means you're gonna be very volatile start to start. So he's kind of a hipster. I think of him more as a werewolf, where it's like a 15-team hipster, but for 12-teamers, you really are putting yourself too much in harm's way. You have Miles Michaelis. My gosh, this dude. It's his location plus is like really good, right? Like our PLV location is really good. It went against the Nationals, so he got a win. 5.1 innings, a 1 earned run, 4 hits, 1 walk, 5 Ks. Miles Michaelis went 22 for 24 four-seamers for strikes. This is not a good fastball, but it had a 54% CSW. He located it well. He spotted it so well down and away. And if you can command, like, all right, the slider is known as like one of the higher PLV pitches in the majors, just because he throws it for strikes so often and has decent enough movement. But he actually, like, the Cardinals don't even trust him. It was just under 70 pitches in the 6th inning, 1-run ball game. They said, nope, you've got a man on third with 1 out. We are just not going to do this. And I can't recommend him. I just can't recommend Miles Michaelis, because it's just so meh. Even in this, it's like, yeah, it's a 5 innings with a 1 whip, essentially, 1 earned run, 1.8 ERA, a little bit lower because of the 1 out, 5 strikeouts. Like, you're happy with it and you got the win, but it's just, you know that the floor is so low. Tyler Anderson against the Orioles, 5 innings, 1 earned run, 4 hits, 2 walks, 5 Ks. I'm more encouraged by Anderson because the changeup is much better than a lot of the pitches. I think all the pitches that Miles Michaelis has, right? He gets the Dodgers though, so we don't go with that. You don't feel like you shouldn't have to hold on to him past that for 12-teamers. Sean Burke got the Marlins, 4 innings and 1 earned run, 91 pitches to do so. Yeah, 50% strikes in the four-seamer, 55 strikes in the sinker, and sub 50% on the slider. What? Sean Burke, you can't do that. You can't. You just can't. Jose Urena, 2 innings this time. Well, I guess he's not really starting anymore, so yeah, no reason to roster Jose Urena. This was in Seattle. You have Matthew Boyd against the Mets. Boys, unite! 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 6 hits, 0 walks, and 8 strikeouts. Oh, yes! We have the bad schedule for Boyd at the beginning of the year, and it wasn't the worst thing ever. And then he had the Pirates, and it wasn't amazing. This one, finally, we showcased like why I've been in on Boyd, and I should have been more aggressive on it. I look at Boyd, and it was one of those guys in the preseason. I'm like, I really like Matthew Boyd, but it could be very boring, and the ceiling feels capped. But like, it could be like a 4 ERA at the end of the day with like a 120 whip. But I do feel like there's a 24% K rate in there, and hopefully it turns into like a 3.6 with like a 117 or 115. But yeah, Matthew Boyd here gets the White Sox next, and you should be on this train. He's going up on the list. I honestly can see him as a top 50 guy, considering that so many of the guys in the 50s right now are just not working. like Max Meyer and Roop and Tyler McGill and Dustin May and like Grant Holmes, even though I feel like that's more. Like there's so many there that are just like 2 weeks away from being much higher again, but you don't know which one it's going to be. And then Matthew Boyd's just like, yeah, I'm going to be here. Like he's a Holly at this point. So I'm going to do an adjustment of a lot of these Hollies that are like Giolito and Boyd and friends. I'll tell you who those are later today. Obviously, Seth Lugo's already there. Chris Sale, 18 whiffs against the Pirates, 8 strikeouts and 5.2 innings, 200 runs. We'll take that, but 8 hits and 2 walks. He got a bit singled out. Rough third frame. You can't go 54% strikes in your slider. That really messed you up. Zach Eflin's back from the IL, and look, this is good. We'll take this against the Angels. It was a little bit risky. 5 innings, 200 runs, 5 hits, 2 walks, 5 Ks, so the 1.4 whip, sure. Everything else is great. You get the Nationals, everything is fine. Zach Eflin probably will be inside that top 50. I know it sounds crazy, right? But yeah, I feel like you should have Zach Eflin, who's going to be a wins guy and be fine for 12-teamers instead of chasing something that is just, I don't know if it's going to work or not at this point, right? Like, right now, the burn and churn is really difficult. And it really depends on the SP landscape. If there are a ton of burn and churn guys, you lean into it. If there aren't, you get more conservative, right? So it's always like a pulsating thing throughout the year of like, okay, cool, you want it. It's a high, then low, then high, then low. It just really depends on what the landscape is. So Eflin right now, yeah, I'd rather have this. Ryan Yarbrough against the Athletics. 5 innings, 200 runs, 6 hits, 1 walk, and 2 Ks. Yes, the Fratty Pirate made this work for the Yankees. It's like the game that I'm amazed he did this. It was because Clark Schmidt was pushed back. 67 pitches. My gosh, insane. He was also allowed to go longer in this because the Yankees were really doing well and they were destroying the Athletics, and Luis Severino had just a terrible day and was against the Yankees, and whatever, we move on there. Chad Patrick, by the way, against the Rays, 4.1 innings, 200 runs, 8 over 29 whiffs on the four-seamer is kind of cool. If he does that with a dominant cutter, it can be good. He could be the CPAP machine. You get it, like a CPAP where you would sleep at night well. Okay, Seth Lugo, 6 innings, 300 runs, but 1 whip in 5 Ks. Yep, that's Lugo. We're cool. Drew Rasmussen is still going to be inside that top 50. What? But he's been so bad. I know, but 5 innings, 300 runs, 4 hits, 1 walk, 3 Ks is not actually that bad. Yes, it's a 5.4 ERA, but it's a 1 whip, right? I think this is something that gets lost a bit, is whip and ERA should be treated kind of equally, and it isn't. And this isn't terrible. This is a terrible start when you look at the skills of like, hey, you need to be better with your cutter. It can't be a 55% strike rate. I'll take the 18% CSW if it generally means more outs, but this isn't really doing the things you want it to do. The four-seamer and sinker were really good at location and everything. It's just like, you got to have that last piece. Drew Rasmussen should be excellent. And only 72 pitches, by the way, right? But it was because it was 300 runs, I think they took him out. He wasn't really dominating. He was just kind of getting too many balls in play again. But yeah, Rasmussen is better than this. And I'm still very much holding on to him. Landon Roop, also 300 runs, 6 hits, which is a 120 whip in 5 innings with 3 Ks. So like nothing is benefiting you here. Like you're not getting that 1 whip at least. And it's annoying, but it's not like blowing up. Someone even said like I expect to see a resignation papers on Monday if Landon Roop gets blown up here. I'm like, what? Why are you doing that? I've explained to you everything to expect. There is a low floor. There is a very high ceiling. I think it's worthwhile to take that risk with Landon Roop. I also recognize that, yeah, it's an amazing curveball, and the sinker should do really well against righties. He, in this one, didn't spot that sinker in enough, but he is trying to make the cutter and changeup better. Like, he threw some more of them, just not enough, but that is the next step for Roop. And the thing is, when that happens, like, he becomes absurdly good. It's like a top 30 starter all of a sudden, because that curveball is insane. It is absolutely elite. He just needs some more help. And we know that can be there with a changeup. We've seen that before. The cutter, I don't know. We'll see. But the changeup can be. And you still want to go with this. But, like, I get that it might not show up, and he gets the Athletics next, and that's kind of questionable. And I understand. He's in that little middle ground, too. I like this more because there's much more of a tangible, like, do that. Also, he's squeezed more than many other pitchers. And look at that, 0 walks now. It's kind of interesting. So, yeah, I don't throw the ball, though. Do you want me to turn down everything that I do for Roop? Like, just don't listen about Roop if you care that much. Okay. Reese Olson against the Rangers, 4 innings, 3 runs, 7 hits, 1 walk, and 5 Ks. Too many mistake pitches in this one. So it goes. I'm still a believer. I think the changeup is amazing. Yeah, and I do like the fact that he's resistant to throwing 4-seamers on the plate. MacKenzie Gore, 6.2 innings of 4 runs, 5 hits, 3 walks, and 7 Ks. Man, 2 solo home runs, and then a careful Icarus in the 7th is ridiculous. It was like 4 singles or whatever in that. Like, ugh. Yeah, really annoying. He's still great. Pablo Lopez against the Giants, 6 innings of 4 runs, 5 hits, 2 walks, 6 Ks. He was really close. The changeup did not do what it needed to do. It was 94 and change on the heater, not like 95 plus. But really, this one just didn't go his way, and that's fine. Yeah, I need to talk about Sandy Alcantara because this was weird in that Sandy Alcantara was left in here for too long, right? Like, he was fine through 5 innings. It was 2 earned runs, and then he should have been pulled because he allowed a double down the line, and then he walked a batter, and they still, like, double down the line. Okay, should have been pulled. Shouldn't have come out for the inning, really. It was like 85 pitches, but then fine. And then you walk a batter, and, like, what are you leaving him in the game for? And then you throw a curveball that is crushed for a home run. It was 1 earned run. Not even 2. It was 1 earned run through 5. And then he still left in the game. And then he struck out a batter, and they finally pull him. What? Why? What is this? Oh, he did get 1 out, by the way. Like, I think it was a line out to the second baseman. Like, I don't get it. But at the same time, Sandy Alcantara isn't commanding perfectly well. Right? He got to a lot of 3-0 counts, or like 3 ball counts. One of them was saved by a pop-up, green light, like a low fastball that could have been called ball 4 for an out. What? And he got himself into all these situations constantly. The curveball is being relied upon, which is good, and I like that he is, but that was the home run, and he does throw poor ones at times. It's not supposed to be replacing the slider. It's supposed to be in tandem with the slider, and that's not really being thrown. The changeup went 4 for 16 strikes. You can't do that, Alcantara. When you think about old Alcantara, it was like a 7 hit per 9 or so. And this is like a 9 to 10. Now, the infield defense does him no favors whatsoever in Miami. And that is something to note, and something I might not be ranking enough into this. But it is like a 50% left on base rate for whatever reason. Fine. But it's also because he had all these pitches locating well. That changeup went over here at 90 miles per hour, and sinker over there, and 4-seamer here, and slider there. And this curveball actually is good at 87 to add to that. But you got to locate. And Alcantara is not locating nearly as well as we saw in 21 and 22. 23, it was a little, honestly, it was a worse defense, but it was also, yeah, it did not locate as well. But yeah, I'm rolling with Alcantara because Alcantara is still somebody who, from this point on, should be much better. He is improving. And it's same thing like Bryce Miller of like, yeah, he's not going to be a 4.5 ERA the rest of the year. Like, he's just not. You know that. So I'm holding. He also will get traded at some point when he has a better defense in all likelihood behind him. So yeah, it's super frustrating. At the very least, he gets the Nationals next, I think it is, or the Rays. The Rays next. I'm starting him for that. I just think that, yeah. He had it. It was 8 strikeouts in this one. Oh, I guess 7 in 5 innings. Not on whiffs as much. He's almost there. Zach Gallen did not do well against the Dodgers, but I do want to tell you that it was the Blake Snell blueprint with Campbell McSanchez against lefties, and that's cool because he did it a second time. And he did 2 starts ago, and the fact that that's still in his toolbox is awesome. Now he gets Rocky Road. So I'm happy with this. I didn't want to start Gallen. Now I really want to start Gallen. That's cool. Chase Petty is so disappointing. Oh my gosh, it's so annoying because the mindset was right. You have the MLB debut that was just whatever. Get that out of the way. You have what I see as a command guy in Chase Petty, as opposed to a thrower who's just like, I don't know, here's my stuff. And he throws 91 to 93 mile per hour sliders that are like cutters, but actually has movement of sliders. And then he has a 98 mile per hour 4-seamer that has, it's really like a sinker that is arm side movement. And he gets an all right. He gets an alrighty lineup that is all good. But this makes all the sense. Like, oh my gosh, you're going to then destroy this. And then he throws 41% strikes on 58 combined fastballs and sliders. Oh my God, Chase Petty, no. It's right there waiting for you. Oh man. But you see how good that changeup could be. It's so, and you see how good that slider could be, and how fastball could be. It's so frustrating. But yeah, when Chase Petty like gets over these yips, like Chase Petty is a very legitimate starter, and I cannot express that enough. The second that it clicks in for him, which I think is like a higher likelihood than like Jack Leiter clicking in, just so you guys know, because that took a while. Like he's not a 6 walk a night guy. He's not a sub 45% strike rate fastball and slider guy. Ah, man. That is something I'm absolutely into for later in the year. Nick Pivetta against Rockies in Coors, 600 runs in 4 innings. It is interesting to think about Pivetta's 4-seamer having less vert in Colorado, and like dramatically so. Because it's been like a 20-21 vert pitch, and this was like 14-15, so maybe it affects his success more than others, which is kind of interesting and something to think about moving forward. But yeah, I thought it would be all right because it's the Rockies, and they got to him fine. I'm still starting him against the Mariners. I know it was bad against the Yankees, but he survived in that one. Like, no, he's really good. And as I mentioned before, Severino was really bad, 800 runs in 4 innings. He did have some interesting sweepers, though, and the cutter usage is up, and that's kind of cool. He's a Toby, and he gets the Giants, not tomorrow as I wrote, but next time out, and that's cool. So we roll with that. All right, but that is it for today. Thank you all so much for all of your support. Enjoy the list later today. My name is Nick Pollack, and may your BABIPs be low and your strikeouts high.